in a little town called Lambertville, which is right on the border of Toledo, Ohio. And I put down all my roots in Michigan, actually, and that's definitely my hometown. I make my own tallow lotion. That's awesome. I did that for a long time. It's nice to not have to do it myself, but it's still fun to do. I usually use my tallow for other things now. I love to give it to our dogs, obviously not in large amounts, but making your own is it's a great way to do it. I used to mix mine with cacao butter, coconut oil, and essential oils, and you just whip it, and it's so awesome. Good morning from northern Utah. Good morning. Okay, so I have 3 people on YouTube, 12 people here on Instagram. Ask me any question that you have. And I'll just keep talking until someone asks a question. So today, Tyler and I are making our first sourdough crust pizza. And I'm really excited for that. I got some really good ingredients from Whole Foods for the toppings, and the crust is getting a par bake right now, which just means it's sitting in a warm spot. So I'm excited to do that. Tyler loves pizza, so I hope it turns out well. I think I'll only have like a little slice, but it's fun to do stuff like that. And my retreat that's coming up is filling up very quickly. It's over halfway full, and we have 2 cabins. So if you're interested, shoot me an email at Rebekah@Tailored Keto Health, or shoot me a DM on Instagram, although I will say not all of those come through. If I'm not already friends with someone, the requests, they are very delayed. Like, I will get 30 messages 4 months after someone sent them to me. From 30 different people. Like, that has happened multiple times. So the best way to contact me is via email. I have been struggling to stick with my diet due to stress and with feeling pressured by others to eat off diet foods. Any tips for resisting temptations when stressed? So when that stress happens, we have something called the critter brain, which is, it loves what's familiar. And so if you have previously turned to food to deal with stress, that can be, your typical response. Another reason is because eating lowers cortisol. And so just that knowledge that eating lowers cortisol, even just that knowledge could really help you to be aware that, like, you don't have to eat the junk food. Even just eating a delicious ribeye steak with butter on the side, which is delicious, can have the same effect. But what it won't do is cause inflammation to your body, making the stress even worse. So I hope that knowledge is helpful. And then another tip would be, like, when I feel triggered emotionally, I don't even consider, like, drawing outside any lines. I just keep it very simple because I don't want to turn to emotional eating. Another trick that I used when I was still struggling with binging, and, like, when I turned carnivore, I had turned from a binge eating disorder with ketogenic foods. And so I still had those impulses sometimes to overeat the carnivore foods. So instead of doing that, I forced myself, I just made it a non-negotiable to go for a 10-minute walk after every meal. So I would prepare the food that I knew I needed to eat to fuel my body. And if I felt like I really want more, or I want to go to Whole Foods and get some short ribs right now, I would go for a walk first, 10 to 30 minutes, however much time you have. And very often I was able to sort out and be real with myself. Like, this is not real hunger. This is emotional hunger. I'm triggered. I need to go into prayer. I need to take these feelings and process them properly instead of eating them. And then sometimes I would realize I am still really hungry, and I would go to Whole Foods and get the short ribs. And so just giving yourself that permission to pause and process is really important. And it takes some discipline, but it gets easier the more that you do it. So just practicing self-awareness and being present is something that is helpful for any stressful situation, but also when avoiding stress eating. And I would just really make sure that you are enjoying the healthy foods that you're eating, like any meat, add butter, make it more delicious, make some hollandaise sauce, treat yourself in a way that doesn't abuse your body. And that it takes practice. The last thing I'll say is a support system is really important. So I know that the people around you aren't being supportive. They're not eating well. They might even be kind of putting you down. Unfortunately, a lot of people are in that position. So plug into this community. Have a buddy that you can actually text or talk to on the phone. You know, when you step outside to go for your walk, call that person and say, hey, I'm really struggling. My whole family is eating potato chips and judging me. Having that support system and not being isolated is also very helpful. What would you tell someone, my dad, who is 6 weeks carnivore and still very fatigued and wakes up feeling winded? He's 73 in very good health. 6 weeks carnivore and still very fatigued. So what I would recommend is that he looks at how much he's actually eating. I have a video on YouTube called What You Measure You Can Manage. And I have actually a lot of different videos on macros, fat to protein ratio, stuff like that. And it's actually really important for him to be sure he's eating enough. If he's a male, he might be a tall guy who needs more protein than he's actually eating. When you go carnivore, it's very satiating. So he could be under eating. He could also be not getting enough electrolytes. He could also just need more fat. So I would definitely dial in, like actually sit down, pull up a tracking app like MyFitnessPal or something like that. And I'm not saying he has to do this every day, but this is what you measure, you can manage. And this happens all the time. Unfortunately, people are under eating and then they're like, oh, I just feel like trash. Well, you need to eat more. What's your favorite animal-based keto breakfast that doesn't contain eggs? I'm allergic to the whites, getting into a rut. So actually, you can make my custard, my lemon custard, with just the yolks, and it is delicious. It's in my reels, and that's a great way to eat eggs when you're sick of eggs. Now, if you don't even want the yolks, then I would say have a piece of meat. Like, why not eat meat for breakfast? I also really enjoy my carnivore crepes, except those are made with egg whites. What else? Yeah, I mean, the only other option would be meat. So I really love smoked salmon. And I love just making baked salmon. Either one. I really love those for breakfast. Or you could just make like little burger sliders with bacon on top. Breakfast doesn't have to be breakfast foods. Now, you say animal-based keto, so that opens up your options. You could also do like porridge made with hemp seeds, some vanilla prime protein, and some unsweetened coconut milk. And that is a really great porridge. You put butter in there. You can put maple flavoring, cinnamon. That's delicious. When I make that, I usually crack an egg into it, but you could skip that. So that's actually a really great keto option. And like if you're super keto, you have more options, but I don't really have many recommendations for that stuff anymore because I don't eat much of that. When you're animal based, I would really recommend eating meat. So yeah. Good. You're welcome. I need a buddy to keep me accountable. Yeah, everyone does. Definitely find that person. Does histamine intolerance go away with time? Do we need to know what causes histamine intolerance? Sometimes. Sometimes when people go carnivore, they are introduced to way more protein and they're introduced to way more histamine. And so if you just kind of lower the amount of histamine that you're eating and maybe supplement with DAO, the DAO enzyme, then sometimes that's enough and your histamine intolerance does heal with time if you're doing it properly, 100%. I do this with 70% of my clients. Literally, like so many people I work with have histamine intolerance. Whether or not you get to the root of it depends on the case. There are some people who are still running into the issues and it turns out they are deficient in copper or they need vitamin C, which can be tricky because vitamin C converts to oxalate sometimes. So sometimes, not always. What's really cool is that when you support the body at a systemic level, the body literally will prioritize healing the way that it needs to. So, like for me, my histamine intolerance, I would say, healed fully after a year. And And I will say for most of my clients, 98%, 99% doesn't take longer than 6 months. And so, I didn't really like dial into why I was having histamine intolerance. I just supported my body and allowed it to heal, and look at all the things that I reversed. I wasn't targeting them with supplements or protocols. I was supporting my body and letting it heal. So many times that is all that's needed. Sometimes we do need a protocol or a supplement. So Charlotte here says that she can be someone's accountability partner. Charlotte, I don't feel comfortable giving anyone your information, but if you guys want to message Charlotte on Instagram and link up and you guys can exchange information, her Instagram handle is charlottepi.per. Her last name is Piper, so charlottepi.per. Helen says that SIRS can be the root cause of histamine intolerance. That is correct. There are a lot of possibilities with histamine intolerance. You guys are really quiet here on YouTube. Sometimes I wish I could see you guys. Like, are you drinking coffee? Are you eating a burger? Any other questions? Helen's in her sauna. I knew someone would be. I'm like in my sauna at almost every 6 a.m. call that I have, or any calls earlier. I'm always in my sauna. It's kind of funny. I'm having coffee with bacon, egg yolks, and sour cream. Oh, that sounds really good. That sounds good. That sounds like a potential option for that other person. Getting ready for work. I'm making protein sparing bread. I love that you guys are sharing this. Hello, I'm eating ground beef for breakfast. Yum. I'm getting ready for work. So glad to was able to watch this morning. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a great day at work. How has my foot recovery been? It's been awesome. It's been better than expected. Even my doctor thought I was way further along than I was because it was healing so well. He's like, wait, you got the surgery 4 weeks ago. It's been longer than 4 weeks now, but yeah, it's fantastic. I'm doing physical therapy, which is just a band, and I wiggle my toe. So yeah, it's been really, really, really awesome. And I've been so grateful with it, honestly. I even made a video on like gratitude because I was preparing to get into a stage of depression where I couldn't move my body. And I never posted it because I never needed it. I was able to get back into the gym, and so it's been really good. But I'll still post the video eventually. Oh, I'm the same person. Sorry. Well, I'm glad you're doing that. So if you can't eat the egg yolks, then check out my custard. It's just lemon, egg yolks. I make it with the whole eggs in the real, but you can just use egg yolks. That's actually how I created it because I could only eat egg yolks, not the whites. So definitely check that out. It's a great way to mix up eggs for sure. Just had a burger patty. How long were you seeking help for your stomach issues? So I had stomach issues since I was a child. I didn't talk about it until after high school. So I saw a gastroenterologist in I graduated 2010, and I saw a gastroenterologist probably in 2014 or 2015. And that's when I was diagnosed with slow transit colon, diverticulitis, celiac, gastroparesis. And then I didn't further explore with like labs, like stool testing and stuff until like 2018 when I discovered the chronic C. diff infection. So I would say, how long was I working with people? From 2015 to 2018, so maybe 3 years, but I struggled for much longer. Much, much longer. I was always in pain and bloated. Even as a child, I would I would just constantly be telling my mom, like, I'm constipated. And I just remember, like, visiting at my grandpa's house, and she'd be like, go drink some water. It'll help you go to the bathroom. And I remember one time it actually worked. I was so happy. So, yeah, I struggled for a long time, but I didn't reach out for a long time. Excuse me. Carrie says she's having coffee and then she will cook some venison. I love venison. I make venison burgers way more often than I make beef burgers. I can't remember the last time I had a beef burger. Actually, it was last year. Yeah, definitely last year, like in the fall, because Tyler was making one for me and I was like, oh, that's good. But yeah, I always make venison. It's delicious. All right, so I'm going to be on here for like 2 more minutes and then I have to head out to CrossFit. I know Tyler's ready to leave. Excuse me. My allergies have been so bad. That's awesome. Linda says that her daughter, who has ulcerative colitis, does well eating the egg yolk custard. I'm really happy to hear that. And I hope that she is on a healing path for that. Ulcerative colitis was one of the last things that I dealt with heavily. I could barely eat anything without involuntarily throwing up. I had blood in my stools, and it was just really making my situation way worse. And it went away. The symptoms went away like as soon as I went carnivore, which was incredible. Eggs didn't agree with me last time, but I ate 8 in one sitting. So when you're reintroducing them, if that's what you're doing, I would definitely recommend starting with a single egg. And then, if all goes well, try 2 eggs next time, in a couple days. And then increase from there. But I can't say I haven't overdone it when I reintroduce something. When I started eating egg yolks, I was eating 18 egg yolks every day for about 2 weeks. Because Nellie's, the egg company, sent me a stack of coupons. And I was like, this is great. So I was making my custard with 18 egg yolks every single day for 2 weeks. Thankfully, I did well with it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning, you guys. I am going to be sharing some exciting announcements probably in the week to follow. And then, of course, I will be here probably at the regular time next week, which is 10 Central Standard Time. I hope you guys have a great day. If I didn't get to your question, or if you have a lingering question, feel free to message me or email me. And if I can help, I will. And I hope you have a great day.